Okay, so I have great affinity for what I call genuine operators. People who are able to execute at a level where they are constantly able to make magic happen. My guest on Winners Win today is the CEO of Two Live Entertainment. His business is like a utility. It runs in the background, but it is part and parcel of a very powerful system. His black book is probably worth $1 billion. If there's an artist or a comedian coming into the country, there's an 80% chance that he's involved. His agency is a talent booking, touring, and management agency that spans the Middle East and Africa. Just in the last 12 months, his calendar is swamped. And to name but a few, Ghana, Eddie Griffin, Basem Youssef, Jason Derulo, Busta Rhymes, and Floyd Mayweather, Enrique Iglesias, Buju Bantam, Sean Paul. I could keep going. And he does all of this because when I met him, I was like, this guy's a winner. And when you watch him move, when you watch his work ethic, he does it with this Canada meets South Africa swag. Mohamed Mia, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, bro?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Welcome to the podcast. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to be
It's
here.
good to see you. You just did Basem Youssef.
Yes, that's right.
How was that?
Oh, it was incredible. We did 3 shows, 4 cities, all sold out.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was his first time here. So it was an experience. It was an experience for both of us.
Yeah.
For us having him here and hosting him here, he's made a big impact in the business, from his interviews with Piers Morgan all the way up to his comedy shows around the world and in the Middle East. I have worked with him in the Middle East before, so it wasn't the first time that I was working with him, but it's the first time that I was working with him in Africa.
Right.
Bringing him to Africa was very special. The audience loved him. He soaked it in. And I think I was explaining this to you earlier off camera, but it was interesting that he loved it so much that he did his homework. He came out here. He wanted to soak in Africa. He wanted to learn the cultures.
Yeah.
Whether it be black, whether it be white, whether it be Indian, whether it be colored. He wanted to know it all, and we appreciate it, and it showed in his work.
Yeah.
So it was great to work.
That's a good look, man. And well done on that. It was, and he wasn't so political, or was he?
He wasn't so political in his comedy show. He touched on it throughout, but very strategically, not overdoing it.
For sure.
He didn't. He made it very clear that this was a comedy show and it wasn't a political rally.
Yeah.
So his opinions got voiced every so often with seeds, and then he kept it moving.
Yeah, beautiful. And then you sort of flew between 3 cities.
Correct.
Which is then my thing. Every time I've worked with you, there's always this question: are you from hardship? Like, where does your work ethic come from?
So, I think it's because I started off in the bottom in the industry. Right. I didn't start off as an agent. I started off as a DJ, went from a DJ to a promoter, from a promoter to a club owner, from a club owner to an agent, and so forth and so forth. So I wear many different caps, and I understand the different elements of the business. So I think I don't like to view myself as an agent only. I'm a service.
Right.
I'm very hands-on. I'm not a pin pusher. Right. So I think when I deal with my clients, whatever value-added services I can bring to the table to help them, I do it.
Right.
So it's not a matter of just delivering an artist.
And at what point did you turn it? So I hear that because sometimes you go from it's my hustle and then it really becomes formalized, like where you are now.
Yeah.
Where did that transition happen from you going from, all right, this is my hustle, I know a couple people so I can put a show together, to, hey, this is now a fully fledged agency?
No, so I think it happened very organically in a sense where I was in the club business.
Right.
And I was, one of the big US agencies actually reached out to me. They asked, hey, we've been hearing your name pop up quite a few times. We're looking for somebody to connect with that can help us with artists when they come into Africa.
Right.
And that was just more on a social buzz, like go and fetch them from the airport, logistically take care of them. They want to go out, they want this, they want that. They just need somebody to take care of, introduce.
Right.
At that time, I mean, I didn't need the money, so I was like, "Oh, you're gonna pay me to hang
Oh, you
out
didn't
with-"
need the money.
No, I didn't need the money because I had the club business.
Okay.
So for me, it was like, you're gonna pay me to hang out with celebrities? Hell yeah, why not, right?
So-
So I did that as a side hustle. That was the side hustle.
Oh, really?
And then when I got tired of the club business and I figured my time was up there, I then looked for my next opportunity. And then I realized, hey, wait a minute, why don't I take what I was doing casually and make it into a business? And that's how that transitioned.
Got you. What's the business model in the agency? Because I've also noticed that you run quite a lean operation, which means margins are good. But
Yes. Well, look, it's very simple, right? I supply international talent,
Right.
I help brands, companies, corporates with identifying what it is they need, so that I can help assist roll it out. I'm connected in the levels of production all the way up to management in various fields. So I don't necessarily have to do it, but I can plug all the pieces in for a client,
Right.
But my personal business is strictly talent.
Yes.
Right.
And you don't manage any talent.
Not right now. I am in the process of changing that.
Okay.
So international talent, no. Domestic and local talent, that's what my business. So my model for this year, and it's not because I've never wanted to do it. I also felt like I needed to commit to it. Right.
Okay.
It's one of those things where I'm not in this for I'm not in this for money. I'm in it because of my passion.
Right.
And if I'm gonna do a job, I want to give it 120, 50%.
Right.
So I can't just do it for a paycheck. And for that reason, I never had the time and the energy to do it. This year, I've changed that model because I brought in a bigger team.
Okay.
I do have people that are handling different things for me, which allows me to focus more on local talent, taking them out of Africa and not just bringing talent into Africa.
Oh, that's good. How big is the team now?
4.
4 people. And that's across the Middle East and SA.
Correct.
Or Africa.
I have consultants outside
Okay.
of that. That if I need them to road manage and handle things outside of Africa. So I have an extended team, but my internal team is just that.
Right. So if someone doesn't know how this works,
Yeah.
how does a typical deal happen?
Okay, so you're the promoter, I'm the agent.
Right.
Mo, I need Akon. Let's just use Akon.
Right.
Mo, I need Akon. I got a show coming up in Johannesburg in June. All right. I would then facilitate the business deal with Akon. I get you a price, give you the price. If you're happy with the price, go back to Akon, make sure he's happy with the price, work out the logistics. If it's so you get different things, you get landed deals, you get plus deals. If it's a landed deal and you say that this amount includes the flights, then I'd have to work it out with the artist and say to him, okay, look, we got to work this out. Make sure you're happy with the bottom end of it. If all of that works out, then we strike a deal.
Right.
Once we strike a deal, we go into contract. Then there's deposits. Obviously, you got to pay your deposit. Once the deposit is paid, what you would, when we're striking the deal, you would list all your deliverables. I would work with you on what deliverables are acceptable.
Yeah.
Every artist is different. Some will do a little bit more. Some will do a little bit less. Some will do interviews. Some won't do interviews. Whatever it is that you require. Because prior to the deal, if there's certain things that you need and the artist isn't willing to do it, we walk away from that deal and we look for another artist.
Gotcha.
If you're happy with everything that is, or you guys negotiate to a point where some of the things you're not going to get, but you're going to get the things that are most important, cool. We keep it moving. We cut that deal. Once deposits are paid, deliverables are whatever the first level of deliverables are required get delivered. Then we start working into logistics, right? We start working, making sure that flights are done, hotels are done, production is done, and that's really the execution part of the deal.
And that's still your agency doing
I do all of that.
You do all the heavy lifting.
I do all
That's why you stay with them for the entire duration.
As I said, I'm not a pen pusher. I manage these things because there needs to be a fair broker between both sides,
Right.
not just one-sided where it's only for the artist or only for the client. It needs to work both ways. And I sort of, being in the business as long as I have, I find the right balance so that I think both parties are happy.
Yeah.
Right? And it's probably why I am the biggest agent in Africa. I have the respect from clients, the loyalty from and the comfort level of wanting to do business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, when you're and I think you and I have spoken about this quite often, how do you square this thing of getting international acts to lower their financial expectations when they come in to perform in Africa?
It's not easy, okay? And I think, okay, so to answer that question, it's different parts, right?
Right.
So you get artists that want to come out here. Those are the artists that are easy, not easy, but they're easier to kind of say, hey, listen, hypothetically, if you're taking 500,000, I want you to come to Africa. We can't afford 500,000. We can afford 350, whatever the case is.
Right.
And then you sell the experience. You know, you're coming to Africa. Let's spend 3 extra days. We go on a safari. We go to Soweto. We do this. We do that. We go to Cape Town or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And for some international artists, talent, they love that idea.
Right.
For them, they're seeing Africa on TV through their friends, through other colleagues, through other artists, whatever it is, and they're like, I need to experience that.
Yeah.
And that's what helps us get those deals. Unfortunately, some artists, the price is the price.
Correct.
Doesn't matter whether it's here, there, anywhere, what you're offering them extra, the holidays, they don't care about that. You know, and I'll tell you, it happens a lot more with the younger artists. The younger artists don't care as much as the medium to older artists.
I.e., they're not willing to shift on their
price.
expectations.
Because it's like saying, and okay, so I'm speaking strictly on hip hop now, right? If I look at hip hop, you look at some of these young rappers that are in the market, they're getting paid, I don't know, they're getting paid a lot in New York, they're getting paid a lot in LA, they're getting paid a lot in their countries.
Yes.
They don't look at the international touring circuit. So while they're not as popular here in South Africa or other parts of Africa, they're really popular in America.
Yes.
So let's just use the same equation of they're getting paid, I don't know, 500,000 there, let's say for a show, and here I'm trying to offer them 3. They don't care. They don't care about building their brand. They don't care because for them the money's the money. They're getting their. Remember, coming to Africa, whether it be 1 or 2 shows, that's 4 days out of your schedule.
Correct.
1 day in, prior show day, 2 day show day, maybe spend 1 extra. Could even be up to 5 days. Oh, sorry, 6 days including travel days.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that's 6 days that they lose out versus 1, 2, 3 days that they're doing flying from city to city.
That's a major opportunity cost.
So a lot of that, look, I'm not mad at that. Again, everybody's business model is different and their approach is different. And I do think that the ones that really understand the benefit of international touring will do that. Because even though you're taking a sacrifice now, in the long term, you're building a brand in markets that you don't have.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
So that and also remember, in America, they love you as good as your last hit. So you're hot until now. Tomorrow, when you're no longer relevant or you don't have a hit, they don't care about you. But the international market does care about you, even after. Look at some of these big artists, 50 Cent, Akon, Ludacris, T.I., et cetera. These guys are still touring and they haven't dropped albums in years.
Right. And they still sell out.
They built their international brand at a very early stage of their career.
Okay.
So today, even though they don't have current music, they're still selling out stadiums. They're still getting big numbers. The markets love them.
Right.
They're not getting that same amount in America, but internationally they're getting paid.
Yeah. Are you seeing a replication of that? So I guess what I'm asking is, what's your biggest category in terms of booking? Hip hop?
Urban music.
Urban music.
So urban music is my biggest category because it is the biggest in Africa.
Right.
Pop music, other than South Africa, pop music doesn't really work in the rest of Africa.
Yeah.
Dubai's obviously shifted. Dubai is both, pop music, urban music, electronic music. They got everything, right?
Right.
So my Dubai business is across the board.
Yeah.
South Africa it can be a combination. The rest of Africa is strictly urban hip hop music.
Gotcha.
And
R&B.
R&B hip hop.
Okay.
So I call urban music that whole portfolio.
Gotcha.
Right? But the other business that has done very well for myself in the last 5 years, it started about 5 years ago and it's just gradually increased a lot more, and I'm doing more and more is comedy.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot more in comedy.
I'm very keen to chat about that because, okay, let's contrast the whole market acceptance thing from a price perspective and go into what I'm confused about sometimes is the Middle East seems to really have accepted entertainment from a genre point of view. What was the shift? Was it just purely tourism or, we want to raise awareness? We're openly from a cultural perspective, like what's the shift?
I think it's the tourism. It's the foreigners. You have to understand that Dubai. When I started in Dubai, it was a desert.
Yes.
Early mid 2000s, we were operating out there. I launched MTV Arabia. I used to do all the Formula Ones on the beach. I used to do all the urban talent for them over there. So there was it was a very different market then to what it is now.
Right.
Obviously, with all the foreigners coming in, and it's a melting pot. Like the country or the place itself has developed so like incredible that everybody's coming in there, which includes now entertainment. Your nightclub scene is bigger. Your hospitality and your eventings, your concerts, your everything. So I think there's more acceptance for the international market there in the Middle East. And that's why even within the Middle East, when I say Middle East, like within UAE, you got Dubai, you got Abu Dhabi, and then outside of that, now you got your Saudi, which is booming, right? And they're all competing with each other now because Dubai started it, and everybody's taking a page to say, well, wait a minute, I want to be the main spot out here.
Yes, the destination that attracts everyone.
And entertainment helps grow that, right?
Okay.
It definitely helps grow that.
What have been some of the biggest sort of? I think you've told me about high profile acts or comedians turning down major offers.
Yes.
Talk a bit about that in the Middle East.
I think the problem with markets like that is that once people hear and see levels of money that get offered, it starts setting an example for everybody else.
Right.
And then, artists that are, and I don't want to mention names because it's their own business,
For sure.
but artists that might generally take, $1 million are now getting paid $5 to $10 million. So it's like they're put in a position where it's like, okay, or if you get an offer for $3 million, which in normal circumstances is amazing, it's not good enough for that market. For that market, if I'm not getting $5 million, I'm saying no. And I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've offered artists. I've offered huge numbers for artists that have just said no.
Because the paycheck's not big enough.
Just because the check is not big enough.
Because someone sits
and I won't even give a name, but I've offered somebody $15 million to do Dubai, and they've said no.
A comedian.
No, a performer.
A performer. And they turned it down.
Yeah.
What do you think it was? Okay, purely on the check is the reason that they turned it down.
Purely on the check. Jeez. They just feel that they can get more.
Did you get more?
No. I think that was the cap.
That was the ceiling.
That was the cap.
The sheikh was like, no, we have no more money.
That's it.
Okay, when you're now looking at the inverse, are we exporting enough artists for you to now play in that game as well? Is there an opportunity for you there?
Yes. So I think not me necessarily, but Africa, South Africa as a whole. Right. In the last couple of years, we've seen the shift of Afro beats followed up by Amapiano.
Right.
And the culture. And then you have superstars like Tyler that have made it so big on the international scale. There's more acceptance for them and that culture, which is now allowing an opportunity for other artists to take their business outside. People are paying more attention. I'll be honest with you, and this is just my opinion.
Right.
I find it's harder for people that are trying to do American music to compete with Americans. Okay. So when you're doing cultural music that is identified as coming from here, that is easier to take abroad, and that's easier for foreigners to accept. Right?
When you're doing cultural music from here,
like I say, I'm a piano, Afro beats, Afro music, Afro tech, Afro this, whatever.
Yeah.
When it's African style or it's developed from this side of the world, it works better over there. Because you're not telling them, whether it be American, whether it be European or whatever, you're not telling them how to do their music. You're bringing your music.
That's correct.
Right? So I think the acceptance
is more. And the flavor is quite different.
Correct.
And from a brand perspective, you mentioned Tyler, so I thought about it.
Sure.
She just did this deal with Nike, etc. Are you geared for that? Have you started thinking about that? How are you representing, the business going forward? Is that something you started mapping out?
Well, in which way? With Tyler?
So not just Tyler, but where artists get deals with brands, get a shoe, etc.
Look, hats off to her and her team. I mean, obviously they did something right where they didn't just open up the door, they walked in guns blazing.
Correct.
and
Correct.
To the point where she's now fully accepted on an international platform scale. It's something very unique. It's something special. But I also think it's just the beginning. I think there's going to be more to follow now that this has happened.
Yeah.
So in terms of brand deals, I don't think it's gonna just boom obviously like that because she's the first.
Okay.
Right? It's gonna take a few more other artists to kind of hit her level or close before you start seeing those levels of brand deals. You'll get the local. You'll definitely get. I mean, there's a lot like Casper and a lot of these guys. They got good endorsement deals, right? If you follow their IG pages and you'll see them everything from cars to brands to betting, sports betting,
Platforms.
and so there it is already happening, right? I just think that it's the next step to take it globally, right?
Right.
Not just Africa.
And an ownership beyond just a sponsorship sort of thing.
A real partnership, if you
Yeah,
can call it that.
yeah,
Right?
where you actually share in the profits and the revenues, etc. Okay, and when you're now building this business, what's the asset of value? So when you think of 2Live,
Yeah.
and someone wants to buy it, what am I buying?
Exactly what you said in the introduction, my black book. You're buying my network, you're buying my relationships. More than anything, it's the ability to connect dots and the ability to network and know people. If I don't know something, it's one phone call away from me. It's as easy as that. You know, relationships is something that I built my business on. I strive my business on, and I'm proud to say that I'm very connected in that sense.
Yeah.
Internationally.
Which means then your business is a sort of close combat. You are the figurehead sort of thing. Have you thought about platforms? Do you remember that Fire app? Well, not the Fire Festival, the Fire app.
Sure.
That sounds like it's something that could work in your world, no?
Yes and no. I think the problem with things like that is that things are so quickly evolving and changing, right? That something that is cool for a minute in that world, music is like it changes, not even like monthly, weekly, it changes daily.
Absolutely.
So like you're trying to tell people to book things from an app when people are still used to just picking up the phone and getting an answer in a second.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like if you call me, 7 out of 10 names that you would give me, I can probably pick up the phone and get you an answer. Maybe the 3 a little bit harder, takes a few days, maybe even a week, but 6 to 7 of those names, I'll get an answer in like one day.
Right.
I don't need to go through the process of an app and waiting. And people like to speak to people. I think we still, especially in entertainment, it's a communication business.
Yeah.
It hasn't fallen away to technology on that part of the business, right? So the people want to hear you. And you also got to remember when you're dealing with this level of money, you want to know who you're talking to. You're not trying to talk to an app. You're not trying to talk to some AI computer, whatever the hell it is. You want to talk to somebody. Right. You want to know, okay, who are you? What are you? How is my money? Where's my money going? What's happening? How's the contract? Blah, 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 blah. Because at the end of the day, it could be your money. It could be investors' money. It could be your sponsor's money. You are answering for that, right? Now, you go and do an app and tomorrow your money disappears. Somebody ran away. Somebody did something shady. And you got to go back to your sponsor or your investor, and it's like, I talked to a computer.
Right.
I sent a deposit.
Agent 612.
I sent the deposit to this bank account over there because they said they had a deal done.
And there was nothing. So you don't think platforms are going to disrupt the agency business?
Not our business. Other parts of the business, yes. The technology will obviously, increase. It'll get better. They'll replace certain things in any business.
Right.
But the communication part of what we do, people need interaction.
Say more about other parts of the business.
I'm talking about like from performances, staging, productions. Okay. Technology is going to help elevate those parts of the business.
Okay.
It's not going to take over cutting deals.
Got you. I see what you mean. Now, okay, how close do you keep an eye on stuff like the Grammys, awards, etc.? And then what determines pricing? So, okay, Kendrick's just won 5 Grammys. Correct. What's the percentile effect on that?
Oh no, it shoots up. If you read the study, so let's go to the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl, no artist gets paid.
Yes.
It's free.
Yes.
An artist actually pays to do the Super Bowl because they have to pay for production, for this, for that. So by the time you blink, you might have gone 2 million in your pocket. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm just hypothetically saying you might have gone 2-3 million in your pocket for a show that is free. But if you look at the returns of that, I think don't quote me on it, but if I'm not mistaken, he upped his brand to 100 million by doing the Super Bowl. He upped his brand. So if he spent 2 million or 3 million or 4 million, whatever it is, whatever he spent,
even if he spent 5.
Even if he spent 5 million, he upped his brand to 100 million. He was very strategic. His jacket that he wore, the brands, the logos
everything
that he put on there.
So calculated.
Everything was so strategic.
It was so calculated.
And all of it just brings up his brand, right? So his price, and again, I don't want to share artists' fees because I do know them, but let's just say hypothetically he's $1 million, which he's not. He's a lot more than that, but I'll just give you that number for now for the sake of the discussion. Let's say he's $1 million, right now. Because of that show, he's $3 million. It just shoots up.
But doesn't that affect accessibility? Suddenly he's not accessible anymore.
No, no, because the difference is, so let's use South Africa for argument's sake. And again, I know we don't have this venue, but no. So let's go at one stage. No, it's still too small. So we don't have the dome anymore. We don't have the dome, but I'm using the dome because it was a 20,000 capacity venue.
Right.
So let's say Kendrick filled up the dome at $1 million. Okay. To the show.
Right.
Previous to this.
To the Super Bowl.
You can now bring him out and fill up F&B Stadium at 50,000.
You think that's the
difference?
The exponential effect.
That's the difference. That's the difference in your numbers, right? So because his value goes up, his popularity goes up, social media content goes up, the youth the talkability on him, whatever hype. I mean, look at the sneakers he wore. He wore those Nike sneakers. I don't know if you know about that.
Yes.
Sold out. Everywhere those sneakers sold out just because he wore them.
That's crazy.
So that's the kind of domino effect that it creates by doing these types of things. It ups your value, right?
How many artists can fill the? So if you're talking to a client, and they say to you, "I want to fill up the F&B Stadium," okay. So Chris Brown did it in the most incredible way.
Sure.
Who else can fill it here?
Drake can do it easily, hands down.
Agreed.
Weeknd can do it.
The Weeknd can.
The Weeknd can do it. And then you get your pop acts, obviously Taylor Swift's. I believe Travis Scott is coming down very shortly. He's coming down.
You think Travis can fill out?
I think he can. I think he has. I think he has a big enough market. I think he's very comparable to the Chris Brown sort of market. Okay. I think Drake is even more.
Without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
He's on another level.
Billboard has him on. I think he's the second most successful artist of the 21st century.
I believe that.
Followed only by Taylor Swift.
I totally believe that.
And Kendrick is number 32. I'm not saying that because...
No. Listen, I don't take away from either of them.
For sure.
I don't... I mean, obviously, Drake is from Canada, so yeah,
Right.
And so am I. So, but strictly from a business perspective.
Right.
I'm very close to Kendrick's camp. His manager and I actually came up in the business together. We were very good friends. But Drake is a pop star, man. Like he's not a rapper. He's not even he's a hip hop artist, but he's a pop star.
Yeah.
He's a different kind of animal. He's a different kind of artist.
Absolutely.
Whatever's going on with him in the industry, it is what it is. It might dent him a little bit. It doesn't damage him. It doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
It doesn't impact him.
Yeah.
He still does the numbers that he does. He's still a global phenomenon.
I agree. He's on tour in Australia.
He's on tour in Australia, and anywhere he goes, he's still going to do the same numbers.
Have you ever had a client say, "This is what we'd like to execute. This is the artist we think is the right fit. This is the ticket pricing," and you say to them, "That's not going to work."
Oh, all the time.
And they go against you. And how do you manage that?
So when you say go against me, like what? They want that artist? Or
they want the artist, and despite your advice on, I don't think this works, they go ahead.
So,
or they want to go
ahead. My job as an agent is to advise.
Right.
My job as an agent is to sort of steer people in different directions. At the end of the day, it's a services business. So what the client, I won't say it's always right, but at the end of the day, if the client knows what they want, knowing what the conditions are, it's my job to still deliver it. Right.
Yeah.
So to your point is that I have had certain clients that have asked for certain artists that I've worked with that I wasn't very comfortable with, or I know that they were not going to do what they want them to do wholeheartedly.
Right.
But I guess for whatever reason, the brand or somebody put it in their head that this is what they want and they can't get off of that. They want it.
Right.
And I deliver it. And sometimes I won't say that I'm right all the time. You know, sometimes I manage it so that it's okay.
Right.
And then there's times where they don't do what they wanted them to do. And it's like, what you can't tell a client, I told you so.
Right.
You know, so it's just sort of
there's
like
no repeat business.
There's no,
there.
you know,
Right.
it's just, no, look, one thing I make very clear, and I think in all my history of the business, I think it's only happened to me once or twice where a client blames me, right? Generally, a client does.
For a show not working out.
Yes, for a show not working out.
Oh, hectic.
Because I make it very clear. I make it very clear what it is. Look, you can blame me if I did something wrong. Obviously, that's different. Or if I didn't deliver what I was. But, you know, when they understand what they're getting involved with, and I make it very clear what these, you know, what to expect. And when it happens, it's on them, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, the funny thing is that rarely happens. A lot of clients are pretty good like that because they come to me for a reason. They know my expertise. They know my experience. They know, you know, I understand the business and I know certain things. So I'm able to talk through it with them. And when I'm able to explain my reasons for these things or why I feel a certain way, a lot of them actually listen. They'll change their direction and say, okay, you know what? I see that. I don't want that headache. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to take any chances. I'd rather do it this way.
Got you. Right? I'm going to pocket watch for a minute. Without telling me the numbers, what are 3 of your biggest deals from 2024? Don't forget, I know the commission. I'm joking.
Oh no, I've had, you know what? I don't want to get into it because it's
without saying the number.
Yeah, but even with saying the artist, it just puts too much light on it.
Okay, say a rapper.
Okay, so I'll rather give you the roundabouts.
Right.
So I've done a 2 million.
A 2 million what?
$2 million
We're not
deal.
talking kwacha here.
I've done a 2 million. I've done a 1.5. Okay. I've done in the millions. Okay. I've done million.
Middle East or Africa?
Middle East.
Middle East. Yeah. No 7 figures in Africa yet.
No. Okay. Not this year.
Not in 24.
No.
Okay. May it happen in 25.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look like you're on the right track.
Yeah. No, there's a good couple conversations that are going. You know, so let me tell you something about the business. Right. 2024, believe it or not, we were still coming out of COVID.
Yes.
Right? Africa was the last market in the international spectrum that came out of COVID. Like you got to look at it when COVID was just in the early stage, 22, 23, America was already opening up. Europe was already opening up. Different parts of the world were already opening up. Africa was the last, okay? Right. And even when it happened from a financial point and even from a confidence support level from clients and sponsors and et cetera, we suffered through the first and second quarter of 2024, right? Third and fourth quarter, I saw the change, right? I saw the change in third and fourth quarter whereby you can honestly see that the market is now moving full force.
Is it a sentiment or is it inquiries or bookings?
Everything. I think it's the amount. If you look at the amount of shows, like Africa and the Middle East has been booming second and fourth quarter, right? And even Africa itself has been booming second and second and fourth quarter, right? This year I've been so busy from January. I'm never busy in January. I won't even lie. Like I actually enjoy it. I'm saying to myself usually January, February, I'm kicking back. I haven't had a break.
Yeah.
I've been on the move from the beginning. And it's just been right through. I got shows and bookings all the way up to like May already.
That's amazing.
Right? So you can already see the change. And I say it's on a bunch of things. It's the markets are opening up more. There's more confidence from the patrons, from the supporters, ticket buyers. Sponsors are opening up budgets more. So there's confidence on all spectrums.
Right. I'm glad to hear that. What's the... I haven't seen a lot of what I call Pan-African touring in a long time.
This year you'll see that.
Okay.
This year you'll see
What cities connect really well when you think of Pan-African
look,
touring?
the difficult part about touring in Africa is we're not weekday markets, okay? Which is why it's easier to do long tours in America and in Europe because they can tour. They might miss a Monday or Tuesday, but they're touring from Wednesday all the way to Sunday, right?
Say more about we're not weekday markets. We don't.
It's so you try and tell, I don't know, Kenya.
Right.
You try and tell Kenya to do a show on a Wednesday and spend $1 million there. It's not
I'm going to whack. Yeah. Okay.
You try and tell Kenya to spend $500,000 on a Tuesday. They're not doing it. But in Europe, those things happen. In
Why aren't we doing it?
Because our markets, we're still not at that level where we're doing consistent business and crowds are supporting it, right?
Right.
So it's a cultural thing too, right?
Yes.
But it's changing. It is changing. People, and I speak starting from nightlife, right?
Right.
Nightlife, people are going out a little bit more, bars,
During the week.
restaurants during the week. So it's starting to, the culture shift is changing a bit more.
Okay.
I think it's just a matter of time when we're in a position to do Wednesday shows and sell out.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just not a norm.
Okay.
Right? So with that, it also makes the touring harder because you now take an artist, any artist, I don't know, Chris Brown. Okay, you take Chris Brown, you say to Chris Brown, okay, I want to do an African tour. He's like, all right, cool, I'm down. It's gonna take you 3 weeks, but you can only do 9 shows.
Right.
3 weeks, 9 shows, because you're now saying to yourself, I'm only going to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, week off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, week off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, week off. And now he's saying to himself, okay, 9 shows for 3 weeks. In America, I would be doing 7, 14, 21, maybe miss 4 days. I'd be doing 19 shows, 18 shows for that.
Oh, crazy.
It's a big difference.
Crazy. The opportunity cost is high. By the way, you spent some time at Universal.
Yes.
What did you do there?
So Universal, they took my business model and they looked at developing a live division, outside of the normal record label, and they hired me on as the director for live.
Right.
It was called Euphoria at the time. Okay. Euphoria.
Yeah.
Right? And it was great. I mean,
they owned properties of their own, or was
no?
it to
So
develop?
I basically brought my business model of what I had. I had to stop trading what I was doing as 2 Live. Right. They didn't buy my company name. They just took the model. Right. I brought it in house. They had a localized version. So they were booking like local talent and stuff like that. So I brought the international into it.
Okay.
Right? So we opened that business up. I did that for about 3 years. The long and short of it was I enjoyed my experience. It taught me a lot. It taught me things. As much as I knew in the business, I learned other parts of the business that I didn't know because I wasn't structural stuff, because I wasn't in label, right?
Yeah.
So I was always in live. So that taught me a lot about the label side of business. And also like the corporate side of that part of the business, right?
Yeah.
The reality of it is I'm not corporate.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
That's actually the biggest benefit from being in corporate. This understanding the structural mechanics of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it gives you the edge in just how you formalize things.
Correct.
Are record labels still relevant, you think?
Whew. I think that's a very touchy subject. You know what? I guess it's depending on who you ask.
Okay.
Depending on who you ask and what you need, I think there'll always be a need for them for certain people, and for others not. It's like anything in life, right? If somebody comes to you and they need financial support, they need know-how, knowledge, etc., you go to people that can do that for you, which is labels. So there's always going to be a market for up-and-coming artists that have no direction, that have no finance, that have no this, but they got a lot of talent. They're going to go to people like that.
Yeah.
Then there's those that are already experienced, that can put their own money down, that can have their own resources. They don't need a label. They can do a similar job, if not better, on their own without the label. So I think it's that balance.
There's a balance?
Yeah, I think it is that balance.
Yeah, I hear you. It's going to be interesting to watch how the shift in rights ownership is gonna be done. Is there an appetite for you to branch into some of the verticals you service? Like, would you start a live events business suddenly because you have the relationships and you think, well, I could do this myself?
I think that I'm very comfortable with my model of my business. I was a promoter before. I used to do events myself back in the day. I've already done that. I think I'm more, I'm in a better position to help others do it.
Okay.
So if you want to hire me, I'll do it for you. I don't need to do it myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's also like, stick to what you're good at right now. Like, don't bite off more than you could. I don't need to do it. If I was desperate for it, if I needed the hustle, if I needed more income, or there was a specific reason for me to do it, maybe. But at this stage, my business is healthy. What I do is good. I'm not saying I can't branch off in my business. There is things that I do that within my model that I'll branch off into, but I like to stick to my lane.
Love it. You were telling me you have over 2,000 pairs of sneakers. I've never seen you repeat a shoe.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What do you spend your money on?
Sneakers has always been a hobby of mine. If I go back, and I mean, obviously this gives my age then, but when I started off in the 80s, I got the first pair of Jordans.
Really?
In the late 80s, yeah.
The retro red?
The retro fire reds.
Okay.
I got those. And I've always been a sneaker person, through high school, teenage years, whatever. It just obviously, as your pockets get bigger and better, you can afford more. So
Respect.
It does help the game a little bit.
How often do you buy sneakers?
Oh man, I can't even tell you. I buy so much. It's so bad for me. It's such an addiction that I buy, and sometimes when I get deliveries, I don't realize I bought the same pair 3 times or 4 times.
For real?
Yeah.
And what do you do with it?
I just keep them.
You keep it and never wear it?
I mean, at some point, you will wear it, or you find a use for it. I don't know.
Respect.
I have sneakers that are just sitting there that I'll wear like 4 years, 5 years later. Like I don't need to wear them now. If everybody's wearing them now, I'll wear them 4 years down the line when nobody's wearing them.
So you mess up the trend.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Travel. Do you travel because you're working on the gigs, or you just generally enjoy?
No, both. So obviously now I try not to travel unnecessarily. There's 2 reasons why I would still travel. It's one, it's either the client is important to me,
right,
or the artist is important to me. Okay. Lower level deals, or certain, like, if it's club shows or certain things, I don't need to travel. Yeah. I can send somebody from my team, or if like I said, I have people that in different markets, I could just have them and take care of it. So, yeah.
The one thing I'll do with every episode, and you have the honor of being the first guest to do it, is we always gonna pay it forward. I want you to tell me an idea you haven't had the time to execute.
So this is a real thing. I own the rights for BKFC, bare knuckle boxing, for Africa.
Okay.
I was supposed to launch it last year. It got shelved. And this year, no. I was supposed to launch it, early last year. And I had so much on my plate because I left Universal last year, last year, Feb, right? And going back out on my own again, I needed to focus on my business.
Right.
My touring business, my live business. So I had the rights to BKFC. BKFC is the fastest growing combat sport in the world at the moment. UFC is the biggest one.
Right.
But BKFC has become very popular. Conor McGregor bought into it. He has a partnership with them. I have the rights for Africa, and I haven't done anything with it.
Exclusively.
Yeah. And I'm looking to launch it. I do want to get back into it.
Okay.
But as I said, I focused myself on my live business.
So if you had someone who could come in and,
I mean, I think I have the blueprint all done. So
right,
it's not like it's a lot of work to do. It's just I got to put some energy into just keep
the execution.
Yeah. The execution.
And you think there's a big market for it?
Huge.
In Africa.
Boxing, combat sports, all of that is huge in Africa. Yeah. It's a very big market.
Thank you.
I seen it when we did trials last year. I was like, wow, I didn't realize the support.
Trials for BK.
I did trials, yeah.
Oh, really?
Actually, I didn't do trials last year. I did trials in 2023.
Okay.
In October 2023, I did trials. And that's when I realized
Good turnout.
That's when I realized how big this sport is here. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Mohamed Mia.
Hey.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, man.
I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Winners win. He's definitely one of those. It's a wrap. Thank you.